podcast and something that we're going to be doing weekly and even on other platforms. Sometimes we're going to be going daily live to talk about the things that we really appreciate, which are real estate, small business, entrepreneurship, family, and sports. So, not that they're all in that order, but those are some of the things that we're going to be covering in our podcast as we kind of talk about the things that are near to us as two guys who grew up in the Houston area together and have kind of flourished with our businesses and our families and our lives. So, Will, thanks for coming on this morning and chatting with me.
Definitely. I'm grateful to be here. It's a good day. And you know, it's funny. We actually met in high school. Remember, through
Yeah, it's been a
basketball.
while. Yeah, back in high school.
Yep. So it's been a long time. Definitely both from the Houston area. I'm from east side of town, the North Shore area, and yeah, it's good to get some stuff started. We got a lot of great content that we are excited to share, and just showing the ebb and flow of the market. There are so many ideas that are that I see that are just pouring out into the stratosphere, and it's a great time to be alive and doing things like this.
So, Will, I'm gonna go into your background a little bit, right? So, Will Sporty Garner, right? You an A&M graduate, right?
Yeah,
You were part of the top Aggies as a small business person.
yeah,
You've been a builder, a developer. You're my real estate broker. Uh, you're a father. Uh, so you're an insurance guy, right? So you have all these things you've been doing for years, and I want to kind of pick your brain about how you've developed as a business person. What have been some of your losses? What have been your wins? And what kind of advice can you give young folks and even folks our age who are wanting to get on the entrepreneurial path about what they can do to set themselves up for success?
definitely. Yeah, so of course my background, like you said, A&M. Grew up right here in the Houston area, and then went to A&M undergrad. Did my MBA also, and yeah, in 2008 we were awarded the top one of the top five rankings out of 100 companies owned by former A&M grads, which is the Aggie 100 award. And so we won that with through our home building. So we do a multitude of things with New Century Advisors. So I actually build under the brand Garner Signature Homes. We do interloop townhomes, uh, single family homes, multifamily homes, and then New Century is our brokerage arm, where we handle real estate brokerage and insurance brokerage as well. And I've been on this whole like journey thing. And so since we're talking about entrepreneurship, um, I've seen so many different people, and I get questions all the time from people who want to get into some type of business. So I feel like I'm more of a business consultant now, than anything. We have our businesses that we operate daily, but I see myself going more so into almost like a consultant role, where you have people who they want to get into something, they just don't know how to get started. And it's important, I think, at this point, for people to like wake up and realize, like, hey, I've got to find that plan B. Our we're using AI now, um, and that's moving.
Point. So you're seeing all these tools, right? As somebody who's been in business for a while, a couple decades under your belt, still a young guy, and you're saying, "Hey, I want to be a consultant, or I want to help other business people kind of evolve." What were some of the things, and who were some of the people that kind of mentored your business early on, and how did you use that to kind of leverage towards success?
I think one of the key influence people that I met was actually a guy through multi-level marketing, a guy named Emmanuel Bernstein. What I really learned from him was his ethic was just off the chain. This guy's like a machine, and I always knew I wanted to do something in business. I'm one of these type of guys. When I was in college, man, I I used to go to clubs and sell glow sticks. I would order glow sticks from China, China off of a credit card that I got from when you go. go in college, they try to get you to sign up for everything. That's how I first got started. Bought these glow sticks, ordered offline, and would go to the clubs and sell them to people while they were in the club. So not only would I make money going out, but I'd have a good time doing it. So as I graduated from college, going into business, I learned a lot from Mr. Bernstein in terms of work ethic, and then that just the transition into home building. I just took that same energy into what I was doing. So I worked with Kimball Hill Homes, was a project manager with them for a few years, and from there, that's when I broke off and started doing my own thing under my own brand with Garner Signature Homes.
So in those early days, from when you transitioned from selling glow sticks in the club to building townhomes and special homes, I guess it's custom homes, right? Uh,
Yeah,
what were some of the decisions in those days, probably in your 20s and late teenage years? What were some of the bad decisions that kind of you look back now and you kind of like cringe and you're like, man, I should have did that differently, or I should have moved in a different kind of way.
definitely. As a young entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest mistakes that, because I went through that time with in 2008, 2009 when the market slowed up in terms with the recession. I remember I was knee deep in about five different projects at the time. And it was crazy because the market itself slowed down so much that our client base were having difficulties getting approved for home loans. And so one of the things that I did not like really take into account was that the market is cyclic, especially in real estate. So just looking at another opportunity in terms of doing more buy and hold and looking at the rental market, um, I think I kind of I clammed up during that time because I went from just hitting home run after home run after home run. Every house that we were building, we were turning. So when the market turned and more buyers were having trouble, getting approved for loans, and I know it wasn't just me; it was a lot of people that were affected in the market at that time. But some of the people who were more successful at during or made that transition, they had a nice stability of some residual income from their investment properties that they were holding. And so during that period of growth, I think one of the things I should have did was took some and put them away. Took some and put them away, meaning having having residual income to stabilize myself more so during that time on the downturn. And what happened,
So it sounds like what you're really talking about is you have to, even though you're making money and the sun is shining and all that, you kind of have to be prepared for those days when it doesn't go as well.
definitely, definitely,
Gonna come. Like the rougher days are going to come, and you got to be prepared for that when everything seems great.
definitely, definitely. So you definitely always got a plan for plan B, plan C, and and that's where the whole mantra of this of what we're talking about as far as entrepreneurships. You have a lot of people who work in jobs right now, but they don't have a plan B. What happens when AI takes over their job role? What happens when someone gets sick and they don't have you know something else to fall back on? And that's the same thing is under realizing, okay, this is what I'm doing at that time. I'm building custom homes, but let me look at some other opportunities that will deliver some other residual income as well.
So you like to touch on AI a lot in tech. So me and you are both a bit of like techie nerds,
Techie nerd, big definitely.
we know we can kind of see the direction because we're from that generation that's like millennial Gen X. So we remember, not having cell phones and going outside and playing and not having all the electronic stuff, not having any of the social media. To seeing now how like it's just in everything we do every day.
Definitely.
Things are moving so fast. So like when you talked about when you used to go out, you would sell glow sticks in the club. Now these kids have learned how to build their own e-commerce platforms and go on Shopify, create content platforms to sell, all kinds of products. So we're going to dig more over our whole podcast uh, timeline. As we do these more, we're going to dig more into AI and how you and I are both using it and implementing it in our real estate businesses, how I'm using it in my legal business, how you're using it in your tax and insurance business. So that's a good point that you bring up. Um, I want to kind of move towards your business background of like relationships, and you talked about a mentor, Emmanuel Bernstein. Have you had to work with a lot of different partners on different projects? Because I know for myself, I've shied away from partnerships. But have
Mhm.
you used a lot of partnerships in the deals you've done?
With home building, not really as much. I've done about 3 projects where I've partnered up with someone to do construction projects. Uh, I've always handled the GC role in terms of construction. As far as like scheduling out the home and making sure everything was going good. That's my forte. But I have partnered with other landowners who may come in, they have the land, and we can go in, we get the financing, partner with other people who have more money in place. And right now we have a platform of syndication where we are raising capital for investors who are like, hey, they would like to park some money into a project. So for some of the development projects we're doing. So in the future, I do feel like we will that's just the natural, I think, future flow of things where we're going to get into more partnerships with other, whether it's developers or other contractors. That's definitely going to happen.
So you see bringing on partners as almost like an essential part of really trying to grow your business.
Definitely the scale. You get to a point where you're looking at doing, deals that are, 50 million plus, you're gonna, put groups together that go in and tackle bigger projects.
Yeah, and so how would you really pick partners? Is it something that you would do like a formula you would look at on what kind of person you want to bring in as a partner?
It's definitely about, record, and then with me, and then what I see the value of what that person can bring to the table. Where, it's just like putting a team together. If we're putting a basketball team, you're gonna need a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, your power forward, your center, right? So I look at it the same way. It's like, hey, if we're putting a team together, I don't need, you know too many eggs in the same basket over here. We need teams that are the players can bounce off of each other to accomplish a common goal. Now, when it comes to capital raise, you know, there's no limit to the number of partners we can bring in at, because money talks for sure. So it's a difference between the team that's performing and your capital team.
So one of the biggest things I've seen as a lawyer, right? Like my perspective with partnerships is it's like a marriage, and without like a really good foundation, things tend to like crumble apart. And partnerships can work, but everyone really needs to have like their ducks in a row. You got to find out what everybody's motivations are. Keeping documentation of what people have said, put it on paper, right? Like
Definitely.
you said and you've done, you guys need to put it on paper so you're clear, so that nobody's memory gets fuzzy later on. People forget things or they don't realize like what they promised or what they said. And if it's on paper, it's like, hey, look, let's just go look at the documents,
Right.
and it keeps everybody kind of in a better place. Because you can say and do all kind of things that you might forget or get excited about something, and you may maybe overpromise or overextend yourself in some kind of way. But
Right.
when it comes to the partnerships, I always tell people, document early, save stuff. It just keeps everybody in a good.
Definitely. So have you had a is that something that you've seen, what's one of the craziest scenarios that you've seen so far from a like partnership?
I see a lot of wild stuff. So in my law practice we litigate.
Yeah,
So and I also do real estate transactions. But when people come to me about litigation, about suing someone, it's like the whole thing's blown up.
mm,
Some kind of fraud, someone is lying to people, people are hiding money.
right.
And so, we've had deals from everything where, athletes are getting loans from our clients. And I mean, we're talking about guys who've made hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're in business with a guy and they're getting personal loans. Uh, they forget to pay it back. They just disappear. Um, and without the paperwork early on, even though they had strong relationships, if the paperwork wasn't in place, they kind of be out of luck.
Yeah,
So um, we've seen some wild stories. I think as we go on this, I'm gonna show you some specific things, and also we're gonna regularly pull out different articles and talk about them from our own perspectives and like what.
definitely. That kind of goes into the mindset too of each individual. Like I think about that a lot. Like, what is this person's mindset? Like, their not just their background. I don't like to discount anyone because of their background, but I do like to dive into a person's mindset, with when it comes to business. Like, where do they have what's on the highest order of importance to them when it comes to repaying loans out? Like, what's their level of, you know, savvy when it comes to dealing with relationships? How do you handle yourself when you're in an environment where, you're at a function and there's the drinks are flowing and things like that? How do you, like, those things matter business wise? And that's something like I speak to my kids all the time about, being aware of their environment and watching who they're hanging around with, because you become who you hang around. So
That's a
it's
good point. It matters about who you're hanging around because a lot about your social network and the people you're around also influence your opportunities
yeah,
and what comes before you, like what's motivating you on a day-to-day basis to get certain things done. 'Cause it's hard to move the ball every day, right?
definitely.
If you're around negative energy, negative people, you're not going to be progressing.
Yeah,
And so when you cut that out, you can progress. You can not worry about every small thing that someone's done to you or said to you because you're mission oriented, and the people around you are mission oriented about getting something done, getting things accomplished.
definitely, definitely. And that's really a big point that I try to drive home to entrepreneurs who want they want my advice. I'm like, look, if you got an idea about something, sometimes you just got to block stuff out. You got to block out the naysayers. You got to block out, because somebody's always going to be can pull you in a negative way, and they may not necessarily have the intention to pull you away from your goals are, but if you have that something inside that's telling you, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I have this idea. You have to walk a walk a lot of times by yourself. And sometimes it's best to keep some things in silent and just continue to walk your path, build your dream out, build your goal out without necessarily broadcasting to everyone. Let the work speak for itself. That's what I tell a lot of new people also, because man, it's like it's like throwing seeds on the concrete. The birds will come and pick it up, and they'll take you away from what you're trying to do. Big time.
These young entrepreneurs and people who are trying to launch these new businesses, how important are you seeing branding and identity reputation? That kind of goes with what we talked about before. Like, how are you seeing that change now? And as a person had business before all the social platforms. How are you seeing how important it's going to be in the future about creating brand and reputation?
Oh man, that's so branding is everything. Like that's one of okay, so there's like two sides to this. It's amazing. Like pre social media, pre like all of this AI stuff, as far as with me is concerned, building a brand and staying consistent about your brand is important. Um, but that goes to one of the mistakes I felt like in the past. I'd have these ideas and I brand this and I brand that. And like, okay, well, cool, let's do this. Here goes another idea. Here goes another idea. And now, you know, what I'm seeing is you want to have some consistency to your flow because people are going to find you on different social media, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram. So you want to have a consistent message because at the end of the day, the key thing is getting that exposure and staying consistent about your exposure. We're going to, we talked about this kind of other day. We're going to a point in business where people literally can build huge networks and huge followings if they manage all of these different areas the same way and have some consistency about how they put their message out. Uh, Facebook was, just at one point a personal social medium, and now it's graduated more into digital profiles and professional profiles. I mean, these are your storefronts that you're putting up, and each one of these social media outlets is a different storefront. You got to look at it almost like, hey, here's a location. This is my location in Atlanta. This is my location in, Vegas, but they're just social media outlets. So yeah, building that brand is so important for sure.
Wrap up this first video that we're doing. We're going to be doing many more of these. What is something actionable today you would give a young entrepreneur? I don't even take that away. Not even just a young entrepreneur. What actionable advice would you give today an entrepreneur to get done today, this week, to set themselves up for success?
Yeah, we definitely it's not young anymore, like you say, because like stuff is changing. So people in there at different ages, right? I think the the most important thing to do if you're out there and you're sitting down and you're like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, and man, take out a pen and paper, write it down, write it down, go and then take it even a step further. Go get you a chat GPT account. Like let chat help you. The AI is there. Let's lean on these tools. That's what we're talking about. Technology. Take your ideas, write them down on a sheet of paper. Let your ideas flood down on paper. Because you're at the beginning point of this is what I'm trying to do. I've been sitting around kicking this can down the road. Now take it and let's put it into some AI. And then let's see if AI can help expound on your ideas on what you put on paper first. So that's going to be our first step of the game of what we're going to do first.
Well, good. I like that advice. And Will, hey, I appreciate your time. We're gonna do this again real soon.
Definitely,
Have more of these conversations because I think they help me. I think they help you. I think, and hopefully, the audience that gets to watch these will gain something from it and be able to send us, questions, comments, any kind of stuff you might have. Leave it where you see this video and give us those comments so we can improve and we can answer your questions, any kind of concerns. All right.
definitely. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been great. We'll see y'all next time. Remember, we'll see y'all at the top.